like a boss.
Alright, ladies, this is Alex from Mindful Attraction 2.0, and today we're going to be talking about how to read men like a book. These are going to be 9 different ways and different tactics with examples of how to read men and how to understand them. Because let me tell you this, the most important skill that we need to hone in on is the understanding of our environment. If we don't understand our environment, we can't really go about our environment and surviving it. Understanding the environment is crucial for survival, because back in the days it could have been a berry that would have poisoned you. Now it's people who are hiding their intentions, hiding their true selves under the masquerade of friendliness. You see, so in this video I'm going to show you very practical and sneaky ways on how to read guys and how to bring the truth out of them. Okay, so let's get started. But before we get started, on my way here, I got recognized, right? And give me a minute, right? So I was walking down, I just finished having a good bagel and shit. And this lady approached me, and I was actually reading this book. I was actually reading my book. Coincidence, I never read when I'm walking. And she approached me. She was like, wait a minute, are you the No, she approached me, and I noticed that she was gonna say something. And mind you, the past month I've been disappointed, because every time somebody approached me that looked like they wanted to recognize me, they usually ask for directions. It usually was where's Starbucks or something like that. So I was like, oh goddamn, another disappointment. And I was like, she was like, excuse me. She was like, yeah. And she was like, are you Alex from YouTube? And I was like, thank God. I was like, yes, I am. She said she said everything, but I don't know. She wasn't as excited as I wanted it to be. She was happy. She was like, oh my God, it's you in real life. And I was like, yeah, but I expected, like, I don't know, like a hot for joy, like, I don't know, like fainting because she's so happy to see me. A picture, I don't know, maybe a picture could have, I don't know, I could have given a picture if she would have asked. I don't know, the 2 times the people recognized me, I just didn't see the excitement, man. The first girl, she was like, hey, is that you, Alex from YouTube? And I was like, yeah, it's me. She was like, oh, hi. She just left, and I was like, fuck you. No, I'm kidding around, I'm messing around. But it was cool though, somebody recognized me, all right? And you know who you are, hi. You just called me on my way to make a video, so let's get started, all right? So, okay, sorry, let me take this out. So, knowing where their intentions are and their strengths and weaknesses is understanding how to read guys, is knowing where the guy's strengths are, where he derives his strength, where he gets weaknesses, right? And understanding that allows you to maneuver and understand them more, and that allows you to set realistic expectations. You see, and you can also utilize it as a key joint to weaken him till you like him. So if you don't develop the skill set, you will always be a slave to your past. Always. Your mind will continually distort your perceptions of events so that they keep recreating themselves in your life. Because not understanding how to read guys will cause you to be a victim of circumstance. And what's going to happen is that the pain of being a victim of circumstance is going to be so great that when you go into the next relationship, that's going to begin to distort your perception of the guys. You're going to have a predisposed belief about them. It may or may not be true, but it's based on your experience. The problem, though, is that you can't really read them because it's being tainted by emotions. So anything that you read, even though it may be valid, it will always be biased, and the other person will always understand that you come from a biased perspective. So any signal you get from them you will never really see through it because you have a biased perspective. All right. So that's why it's important to understand this, because if you don't know your enemy, if you don't understand the other person, if you don't understand where they're coming from, you never can really relate to them. You never can really know them. And you will always be taken for granted because you will always think that perception is what reality is, the fronts that people put. And that's actually the total opposite. You got to understand is that when you see a smile, when someone's in front of you, people forget this about human beings, that just because somebody's smiling doesn't mean nothing's going on, doesn't mean that they don't like you. For example, it's kind of like when you watch people. If you watch people in the streets, right, you notice that most of the time they're quiet. Like if you notice people, usually they're just quiet. Usually just going about their days without even talking. Language was just developed for communicating with other human beings and for survival. Survival, that's what it was, like language. Language is only for communication with other human beings. That's what that is. When people are alone, they don't talk that much. You see? So that's the same thing. That's what we are here for. You see? But the problem though, oh, I got sidetracked a little bit. All right. So, anyways, so the cause of the issue that a lot of women have though is that they don't know how to read guys, but also they think they know how to read guys, but they really don't. Because their books on men is all based on their personal experience. It's all based on their pain and their pleasure, and it dilutes a lot of information that's important, and it causes you to even disregard a lot of obvious red flags, a lot of obvious good qualities in guys, all because you're looking for certain things because you're still holding on to the pain. You're allowing your pain to see through you, to live through you, to breathe through you. All right. So this is how in this video I'm just giving you an understanding of why it's difficult to read men, because men are not that complicated. The signs are obvious. Their writing is always on the wall. But the problem is that oh little doggy. The problem is that our emotion doesn't allow us to face it. All right. So once you realize that, remember that guys, like I said, are not hard to read. Emotions make things more complicated than they should be. Realize that men are always showing unconscious signals that reveal their intentions. And if you're still if you're still wrapped up in your own fantasy, in your own world, you will never be able to fully read those signs accurately. All right. So I'm gonna show you how to read them and how to bring them out. So how do you do it? The first thing is you got to empty your mind and remove bias. You have to empty your mind, because if you don't do that, it's gonna be extremely difficult to do that. Extremely difficult to understand his intentions. A lot of the time, sometimes you just need an outside perspective, for the most part. And most people can easily read the writings for you. The writings are the wall for most people. The issue is that when we like someone, we're not able to see that. And our own biases and confirmation bias will cause us to disregard some obvious facts, like I said earlier. So the first thing is deal with your own perceptions before you read the other person. Deal with the lenses of your camera before you look for the landscape. That's a perfect quote, by the way. So that's the first thing. So once you understand that, and again, the way that you overcome that is through actual practicing mindfulness. That's a perfect way to do that. You practice mindfulness. You notice the breath. You notice the emotions that produces the thoughts of suspicion or any bias. Notice where bias arises. Notice any moments where you have strong conviction. Like when you say, I know I'm right. Notice the emotion that arises from that. And always try to question yourself by saying, maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter under what scenario. And it doesn't matter how truly you believe it. Always get in the habit of asking yourself, maybe I'm wrong. Just to be open-minded enough to look for other facts that are in front of you, but that you're not focusing on because you're looking for a certain answer. Okay? So that's the first thing. And again, a lot of times it's not even about being able to read guys. It's just about being able to look over your biases. And pretty much once you're able to do that through practicing mindfulness, you'll be able to easily overcome that. But outside of that, we got more other ways, more principles. The second thing is don't be too pushy. Okay? Don't inquire too much. Don't ask too many questions. Don't set high expectations. Have a friendly front and act like you're easily fooled. Which in this is what we call selective. What, an Amish woman running? Okay, nothing wrong with that. This is called selective weakness, where you bring out that you used to bring out their true intentions. So you use it to make them feel comfortable, to lull them into a pattern, like in a hypnotic pattern of your consistent behavior, by showing that you're not too aware, by showing that you don't ask them any questions, by showing that you can easily be fooled, by showing that you're easily laid back, and guess what? You will always smile for them. That will allow them to slip up. That will allow them to get a little bit comfortable. Because if you're too pushy, if you're setting high expectations, like saying if you cheat on me, I will get you, or asking for like the relationship initially, it will make them guarded. And they will know where your angle is, and as a result, they can use that to change also their own behavior and their own perception. So what you have to do is keep your expectations low, and act like you're not aware, but still remain aware though. Just don't say nothing. See, movement is done in silence. You gotta realize that. Okay, so that's one of the ones. The fourth one is look for overcompensation. When someone's really good in one area, see the opposite. So when someone's a good, like for example in basketball. When someone's a good driver to the hoop, most of the time they can't shoot. When someone's an amazing shooter, most of the time they can't dribble. Like, look for those weaknesses. Look for the opposite of the strength and try to exploit it and see what happens. See what comes out of them. So because once you understand a strength, then you can easily look for the opposite, understanding weakness. You can kill two birds with one stone. For example, if someone is an amazing social person, like extroverted and has a lot of friends, see how they feel about solitude and find the source of that pain. Because if you're too distracted with how awesome they look when they're around people, then you're not going to be able to see through the smart screen and be able to find the other weaknesses that he has, that is laying right behind that veil of goodness. If someone's very masculine and there's no trait of femininity, it may be a lack of confidence. So see if they're very masculine. See what happens. See if they open up about their emotions. See what happens when we talk about emotions. If they feel uncomfortable. And again, it's not even about just like finding that out and like jabbing at it. No, it's just more about understanding what makes them click. Once you understand him, what makes him click, then you're able to make decisions and react to events based on a more clearer understanding of the individual and less based on your own biases and perceptions. Because if something bad happens, but it's based on reality and not something you fucked up, because we usually fuck up things when we distort reality. But if it happens because of natural causes, because you read the situation and that's what it was and you just couldn't do nothing about it, that's easily more acceptable. When this also goes, like, for example, like when someone's short in the NBA, they're usually good dribblers. Why are they so skilled? Because they're short, so they gotta work harder. So that strength is because of a weakness. Okay, so the fifth one: get them emotional to reveal their intentions. One of the ways that you could get someone to open up and reveal who they are is getting them emotional. Because usually, for example, like it's a lot. For example, let's say that you wanted to break up with someone, right? And you wanted to break up with them, and you found it difficult. But then you find, let's say that you guys are having an argument. You see where I'm going at? And he gets you angry and shit. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna break up with him. It's a lot easier to do. And it'll seem like you just broke up with him because of that same reason, and it looks psychotic. But in reality, you just had it in your mind. Getting them emotional allows them to reveal what they really want to do. Okay, now if they make sure they don't want to kill you, make sure you guys know about the kitchen. I always say, don't argue with people in the kitchen. Let's do it in the living room. Nice and safe. Nothing sharp. But that's what I would do. Okay. So a way for you to do that is creating space. If he texts you, like, don't text him for a while. Like, literally black him out. Like, creating space does this. Jealousy also does the job. When you make someone slightly jealous by saying, what are you up to? And you say, no, just going to get dinner with a friend. Go and get dinner with a friend. What do you mean dinner with a friend? If he tries to ask you, what do you mean dinner with a friend? Oh, there's some jealousy there. There's some emotions there. Or the preemptive breakup. Like, preemptively breaking up with him to see if he really appreciates you, to see if he really begs for you. Or breaking up as a prank. Like literally breaking up with him and recording it and just seeing if he reacts. I know it's a little fucked up, but I'm just saying though, like if it's a prank, you could just no, I'm just kidding around. And like, again, like, is he really gonna get angry at you? The point is that he's gonna feel that jab of pain, and that's gonna remind him how much he really likes you. Or he's gonna show you if he really likes you. If you said, you know what, okay. So he says okay, and now guess what? You just saved yourself the trouble. Yeah, you lost him, but guess what? He didn't like you. I mean, do you prefer to be with a guy who doesn't love you, or do you prefer ignorance is bliss? And you know what? Ignorance is bliss. And I don't mind. That's if you don't mind that, I don't mind. I'm just saying, that's how you find out. Another one is the seventh one. Find their source of power, and you get a sense of what motivates them, and base your judgments more on grounded facts. For example, someone's source of power. If you know that a guy derives pride in his money, you can interpret whenever he talks about his money as though he is trying to impress you. If you notice that he derives pride from his family, and suddenly he's talking about money, now if you didn't know that, you would think, oh, he's talking about money. Because every guy you met is rich and he always does that. Guess what? So you're gonna think he's trying to hit on you. In reality, he's just talking about money. If he's derived most of his pride from his family, he's going to talk about his family. If a guy derives his pride from being an athlete, right, he's going to talk about that. But if you don't know where his pride is, you're not going to know what his intentions is. So that's why knowing that, it would enable you to judge a guy a little bit better and understand him. So, for example, it's kind of like if a guy, okay, so if a guy doesn't make a lot of money, right, and he gives you a gift based on money, it's a lot more valuable and more heartfelt because it's a sacrifice. When a guy earns a lot of money, but he doesn't, but he doesn't care about the money, right? Because he earns a lot of money, is that a sacrifice? So guess what? He gives it to you, and that's a way for him to make you feel better as a show, like a quick route to make you feel better because he thinks that every girl values that. So as you see, like it's based on what people value that you could judge their intention. So if a rich person gives you money just to shut you up, he's not really working for you. But if he gives you his time, when his time is valuable, then that's him really showing his time. But if a guy doesn't have a job and is at home all day and he gives you his time, it's not really worth much. You see, so it's all about the currency of the individual. How much does a person value that? How much does a person value this or that? And it's a very simple way to do. Number 8. Offer no initial resistance to see where he goes to. So, for example, when you're talking to him, right, and you're noticing that he's getting a little comfortable. For example, like he starts calling you baby once in a while, right, and you don't feel comfortable with it, right, and you want to find out, what does he want with the relationship. You allow him to do what he wants initially. Allow him to call you what he wants to call you. Allow him to see. Allow him to go with the flow and see what he does. See how often he texts you. And just see, because then when you offer no resistance, it allows him to actually be who he really is. Praise him. Notice how he reacts to praise. Notice how he reacts to when his ego is inflated. Because then you're able to take a step back and look at his behavior without actually investing a lot in it. Okay. This one, that one's kind of decent. That, to be perfectly honest with you, that one is kind of like I'm not really about it, but I thought about it, but This one's much better. See who he admires and why, and see who he looks down upon. What a big revealer. Again, in order to understand a person's actions, you got to know what their values are. So one of their values is looking at the person who they admire. Do they admire potheads? Or do they admire professional athletes? But why do they admire them? Do they admire them because of the money? Or do they admire them because of their dedication? Do they admire them because of their fame? Or do they admire them because of their passion? Like, there are different levels as to why someone admires someone. So people may admire Hitler, but for different reasons. People may admire Hitler because of his ability to manipulate people. From that perspective, or people may fucking like him because of the fucking shit he did. Which, if you like him because of that, you're a fucking asshole. But you're an asshole. Subscribe to my channel if that's the case. Right? No, but seriously though, so that's one of the things. So who does he admire and why? So if you're noticing he admires Young Thug because he gets the bitches and shit, right? Then now you know what he values in life. See, now look for people who he looks down upon. What kind of lifestyle does he look down upon? Notice the times when he's condescending. Why is he condescending? To who is he condescending? And that will help you see how he perceives the world and how he perceives himself. Because once again, everything that we do, everything that we express, is more of what we see inside of us and reacting to it. Most of the time, we're not really reacting to reality. We're just reacting to our emotions, which is, kind of reflects reality, but it's kind of distorted. It's enough for us to dodge. It's enough for us to dodge, like if someone throws something at us, but it's not enough for us to. It's enough for us to understand what somebody is saying to people, but at the deeper level, the facts become, the emotions distorts the facts. So yeah, we hear the same thing, and that's where we are agreeing upon it, and that's where reality is, and that's where we're both at one place, right? But then perception also, there's a higher dimension of perception where it's more about what's underneath the surface. You see, so it's not like we're seeing the world and like you're looking at I'm looking at a tree, but rather than me looking at a tree, you're looking at a tree that's flying. Like, that's how people say, like, we all see the world differently. Now, it's not like we see a different world. We just interpret the world differently. That's the difference. Now, depending on your faculties, which some people cannot see colors, okay, that's the exception, right? But at the end of the day, what we are seeing, if you're alive, that means you are perceiving what we are all perceiving. Enough for you to survive and for us to survive. That is a common trait. What's further Our interpretation, okay, that's based on you. That's based on you. That's the difference, all right? That's what different realities is. Anyways, that's just little. I just went to a different topic. But yeah, that's pretty much it, yo. One, empty your mind and remove bias. Two, don't be too pushy and show weakness just to make them feel comfortable. Three, look for overcompensation. Four, get him emotional to reveal his intention. Five, say less than necessary and let him interpret it. That's a big one right there. But I don't think I was going to include that, to be honest with you. So ignore that one. That one was good, but it's not enough for me to include it in the video. To be perfectly honest with you. The other one is find their source of power, and you'll get a sense of what motivates them, and base your judgments on more grounded facts. Offer no initial resistance to see where he goes with it. And the last one, see who he admires and why, and who he looks down upon. And that's how you read guys. All right. Notice I didn't talk about body language. I didn't talk about any of that sort of stuff. Something you gotta understand also, which I didn't include, is that pain is a big factor in what motivates people. And you gotta find out notice how much they criticize people. Notice the pain. When they're alone, notice them. Notice how notice the energy they emanate. And in order for you to do that, you have to look at people with a lot of compassion and understanding. It requires a level of empathy and desire to see the best in people. That's really gonna show you who they really are, and that's gonna help you understand them more. Not from an intellectual perspective, which is this is why you do this is why you do that. No, more from a, how can I say, it's more from a human to human kind, which is, it's not even based on words. It's just based on, in reality, we're all the same person. We're like different computers. You know, like you have a computer, you have my phone, right? And you have another phone that looks like this, right? Each phone may have different gigabytes, different gigahertz, different battery life, different status, right? But when you open it, different settings, different books, different parts work better than the others. Some blow up, some don't blow up. But at the end of the day, this phone is being animated by the same animation that's in every phone, which is electricity, data electricity, right? That's made out of atoms, and that's made out of electrons, and so on. And that's the same thing with humans, where I bet this phone thinks it's special because I give it an identity. This is my phone, so it's different, right? It's different. But at the end of the day, it's not different. The only difference it is that I give it meaning. So let's say that electricity is the consciousness itself. See, my consciousness is given this meaning. The electricity in this is the electricity in me, which is like we're all the same humans. We just because of our mind, because of our brain always tries to give meaning to things, including this. You see, notice how I gave this a meaning. This is mine, right? So the brain even says, I am one, I am someone. All right. So what's going to happen is that this will say, I am this, but in reality, this is just nothing. It becomes a phone once it gets turned on by the power of electricity. Same thing with our minds. We're all the same organism. All the same organism. We just happen to think we're different. Our brains give us a special meaning, and that's required for survival. But it dilutes reality. It creates an enemy of the world because we create a barrier between ourselves and the world, right? And that barrier causes fear. That barrier makes an enemy out of people. And so when we see people, we don't see them for who they really are. We just see them as part of the world, as just a random human. But in reality, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like hearing somebody go to jail, but then having a friend of yours go to jail. It's different. Kind of but then you notice, oh shit, that's my friend. Oh wow, he's gonna suffer. Oh wow, and then you see your friend crying, and you feel for them. But we don't think about that with other strangers. That's because we don't have that level of compassion. We know they're humans, but we don't feel it inside there. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's a little different. Like it's one thing hearing about it, it's one thing experiencing it. You know, so it's the same thing. Is that if you don't understand people on an emotional, compassionate level, you're never really gonna be able to understand them. All right. Anyways, this is it. This is Alex. If you guys are want to subscribe to my channel, subscribe. What are you doing, bro? Come on, dude. Comment, and if you ever see me, be a little excited, jump. Ask for an autograph, I'm kidding, yo. No, I'm not. No, please don't do that. Don't do that. I know, I'm a very into myself, like quiet person sometimes, But yo, man. Anyways, I'm talking too much. Bye bye. Have a good day, okay?